Don't engage alone. We do this together.
Yeah, we got it. We got it.
52 books.
Somebody clip this one.
Welcome to Comics League Movie Night. I am Jared. I'm here with Nick from the Phoenix Press, and we are talking about Kickass 2, the most so-so sequel to a movie ever. What's up, Nick?
This movie's not terrible, but it is a bit lesser. The story is basically a combination of the Hit Girl miniseries and the Kickass 2 comic book, both by Mark Millar. But the other kind of big change is they kind of age up the characters a little bit, because Kickass 2, the comic, takes place like 6 months after Kickass 1.
Mm-hmm.
But because of time periods and because of the actress for Hit Girl, obviously she doesn't look like a little girl anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of had to age up the story a little bit.
Yeah, and I think in the book, I mean, in the movie, it's 4 years.
Sounds about right. Because I think in the first movie she was about like 11, maybe 12ish. Now she's kind of closer to 15.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm like, I understand, and I mean, it's an interesting creative choice. But so watching this, here's my problem with it. It's that a lot of it seemed really random to me. I was watching it and I was like, I'm not. Plus, this movie got a little bit too much in the ridiculous. Scored a little too high in the ridiculous meter for me, because it's like I get the first movie's ridiculous too, but this one was a bit like out there.
How, like, explain please, because like I don't think it went like too out there, because first off, this movie, like the first movie, was in no way realistic. This one, it's just kind of an extension of it. I think
it's really because it's like I didn't buy a lot of the people being superheroes. I'm like,
I mean, that's kind of the point.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess
that's kind of the point of the whole story, is these people are in no way like qualified to be superheroes, but here they are standing in the line. It's kind of about like, it's kind of a comment on like the courage of the common man, kind of thing.
I guess. But Nick, so let me ask you this starting off. What are some of the things that what are some of the weaknesses of this movie in your opinion?
Well, first off, I find it interesting where they basically broke up the girlfriend right away.
Yeah, practically off screen. So I was like, Nick, you know how I don't like breaking stuff off screen, right? I'm looking at you, James Tucker.
So you're saying the psychos just keep getting younger?
Yes, exactly. Continuing on. They hit lightning in a bottle with the first movie, says Randy. Yeah, exactly.
Indeed.
And then Brown says, hi, I only remember tall Russian chicks ass in the poster. I think Jim Carrey was there. Yeah, he was there too. He was not bad.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
So Jim Carrey plays Colonel Stars and Stripes. In the comic book series. See, this is why you're here. I actually read the comic book. It was 10 years ago, but still. It was Colonel Stars and Lieutenant Stripes. And
okay.
And let's just say the Eisenhower scene, was a lot more brutal in the comics. Like, we're talking 2-page spread.
Oh, geez. Dave says Matthew Vaughn should have returned to direct. I agree on that one too, because part of the fun of the first one was Vaughn's directorial style. By the way, so here's an interesting piece of trivia. So this movie came out in the wake of the Sandy Hook school shooting, and Jim Carrey wrote, I did Kick-Ass a month before Sandy Hook, and now in all good conscience, I cannot support that level of violence. My apologies to others involved in the movie. I am not ashamed of it, but recent events have caused a change in my heart.
Yeah, I think that was Jim Carrey who did that. But the thing that, okay, I gotta call BS on that, because
Yeah.
he didn't he just sold the movie, but he sure cut the paycheck.
Yeah, that's true. And Mark Millar had he replied in his online forum saying, yes, the body count is very high, but the movie is called Kick-Ass, has to do with what it says on the tin, and compared it to films by Quentin Tarantino, Scorsese, and all that stuff. Millar insists the film concentrate on the consequences of violence rather than the violence itself. And even Moretz also commented, it's a movie. If you're going to believe and be affected by an action film, you shouldn't go see Pocahontas because you're going to think you are a Disney princess. If you are that easily swayed, you might see Silence of the Lambs and think you're a serial killer.
Well, Jared saw Man of Steel and he still thinks he's Superman.
Well, because I am Superman. Yeah, but yeah, 100% I agree with them on that, because I'm like,
check out
Comics
League Chat.
Yeah, I get it, but it's really. Oh.
You saw the picture. Is that safe enough to show on stream?
I don't think so.
But that is what it looks like in the comics when Eisenhower bites the thing. Like, it's actually it's actually kind of PG in the movie, but in the comic it's so bad. Brown
says in Twitter, a rumor going around that Zaslav might be thinking about restoring the Snyderverse. Of course, I don't believe another basis rumor. Yeah, let me put it this way: it makes sense that because we can talk about this later, because I decided that at the end of every movie night stream, we'll even do a Q&A. But I'm gonna briefly touch on this. Let's say the rumor's true. Here's why it could be true. Now, granted, I still say, like Brown says, and like Nick has said, anytime there's a rumor, take it with a massive grain of salt.
Just take the entire canister of salt, open it up, and dump the entire thing on your head.
Yes, exactly. Now, here's the thing. Zaslav brought in Gunn thinking, oh my gosh, there's going to be this big excitement. Everyone's going to be constantly talking about Superman. And here's the problem. Whenever there's a reveal of Superman, yeah, people talk about it briefly and then they just forget about it. And then you have the Peacemaker stuff. But anyway, so it could be that. It could also be he just wants money and he's like, you know what? That license thing actually looks really good. And reportedly the CEO of Netflix has even seen it as well. So we'll see more on that. But really, I was really disappointed with Jim Carrey attempting to blame fiction for real violence is never a good look. It's like those people that are trying to blame Call of Duty.
And he actually did a pretty good job of the movie. Like, I gotta say,
it was good. Yeah, I liked him in the movie. That was great. He's basically like an analogy to like American imperialism. It's really funny. We're talking about the sequel to Kick-Ass, Tavia. So, and then to be clear, yeah, do I enjoy watching the movie? Do I have fun watching the movie? Yeah, it's an enjoyable movie. The problem is, it's like Thor Ragnarok to Thor Love and Thunder, and that it took like some of the stuff that annoyed me about the previous movie and just ratcheted it up to like 20.
Fair enough.
Honestly, this movie was mad best and not as strong as the. Yeah, exactly. Definitely not as best. I actually like Jim Carrey in this movie. I thought he did. Yeah, he did a fantastic job in this because he's Jim Carrey and everything. I like how he's basically like in your point, he's the analogy to a general. The other part that I think it went a little too like crazy was the recruiting a team of supervillains, almost like, shouldn't we have a league of our own? And I know I'm about to play the Batfleck theme.
Why did you say that name?
You have done that yourself.
Yes, exactly. So I wasn't really that, because a lot of that was on the level of Bruno from Dark Knight Returns.
Okay, you know what? So can I cook here for a moment?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So here's how you do a Kick-Ass spin-off movie. It's a hit girl movie. You bring back Chloe, and it's basically set 10 years later. Hit girl is living a normal life, and then something causes her to have to put on the costume again.
That works.
We're doing that movie.
Like Dave is like captured and beaten up, and then they go, unless Hit Girl returns, we will kill him.
No, they capture him. They don't kill him, and they threaten to reveal her identity and expose all of her father's stuff if she does not do what they tell her to.
That works. And actually, fun fact, they are developing sequels to this, and reportedly one has already been filmed.
Honestly, I just think a Hit Girl movie just makes sense because Chloe is still young. She can still do the role.
Yeah.
You know?
And I like her character in both movies, so that would actually work. But
or even just Aaron Taylor Johnson coming back for a Kick-Ass 3. It's like, oh, I have to do this crap again.
Hey, what's up, Dawson? What's up, dude?
Oh, Dawson.
But isn't the Kick-Ass actor too old now? Well, kind of.
I mean, he's Craven. I'm sure he's craving for a sequel.
Yeah, I know. You could say he's hunting for a sequel.
I'm sorry, but like Aaron Taylor Johnson can still like if they want like it, but it has to be like it's been 10 years since I put on this costume kind of thing.
So Nick, you could say it's Craven time.
All right, I'm leaving.
I had to.
I hate you for it, but you had to.
Yeah, the other part that I really didn't like was the whole off-screen breakup, because that was one of the fun parts about the previous movie was that relationship. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, that broke up. And I'm like,
what's funny is in the original comic book, as soon as she found out that he was lying to her, she slapped him and never talked to him again. So they never actually got together in the comic.
Oh, really? Wow. But again, it's like, this gets back to my problem with the Tuckerverse. They did too. I hate. Well, honestly, here's the thing. I find it extremely lazy when creatives in between movies do it off screen.
What's the Tuckerverse?
That's the DC AMU.
So it's the Camus.
Yeah, but it's also called the Tuckerverse because James Tucker was the main creative behind it.
I prefer to Camus.
I prefer to Camus too. But yeah, my problem is, like, this is my problem with the Camo. They did too much crap off screen, and then this happens, and I'm like, because again, Nick, do you agree? What's one of the lessons of storytelling?
Show, don't tell.
Exactly. And I don't want to hear you say, oh yeah, I just broke up with her. At least show us in like the first montage or something. I would have taken that. I'm like, at least they showed us. But no, you had to say it was off screen.
This is why I always hate times whenever when they would do like a time skip, like, oh yeah, this couple, they're great. 5 years later, they absolutely hate each other, and like supposedly like there's like it's like in Young Justice when like they had Connor and McGann together at the end of season 1. And then at the end of season 5, it's like, oh, you tried to like erase my memory, or like just stuff that we never even saw. The reason they broke up is like, why do I care about something that I never even saw?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And yeah, if you show us, it's like doing the death of Superman off screen. That it's at that level. Dave says his Quicksilver was a huge waste, and Craven's going to flop hard. I hope he returns to a good comic book film series. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, they keep doing this crap every time in the movies, and it's annoying. Is Craven going to be worse than Madam Web and Marvels?
I think Craven is going to be decent because like there's not as much room to F up there. I think it's going to be probably at least Morbius levels.
Yeah. All right, Nick, Jared did that pun as payback for the Wonder Bat thing he did on that last stream. I can neither confirm
Wonder Bats in the chat, everybody.
If you do that, Nick will never return to Comics League ever again.
Oh.
It's Alien 3 syndrome. When they kill off the supporting characters off screen from previous films, it kills audience investment. Exactly. That's a good analogy for that.
It's almost like you have Channing Tatum in your film series, and he does the first movie, and he's back for like 5 minutes of the second movie, then you kill him off, and wait.
Oh, you're talking about G.I. Joe?
Yeah. It was quick to retaliation.
And they said by the way, he survived that. I'm like, okay. I also like where it took the aliens, colonial marines, that crappy first-person shooter for them to say, oh no, Hicks is alive. What about Newt? Oh, she's still drowned. What are the best movies of the Spider-Man spin-off universe? Venom. Of the ones that we've gotten, it's Venom.
And Venom 2 really isn't terrible. The first one's better. But I will say the second movie is still, it's
enjoyable.
It's bad. It kind of like I don't know. It's flawed, but at least it's still fun.
Yeah, my problem with Venom 2 is that first off, it was too short and they killed off Carnage. What?
I mean, let's be honest. They can probably come up with a reason Carnage returned. Somehow, Carnage returned.
Yeah. Well, remember, they did tease the other symbiote, so I guess they could. It's just Carnage is Venom's Joker, and he just kill him
By the
off.
way, I need a tangent for a second. Have you ever watched closely the Palpatine return scenes? You can almost tell that Oscar Isaac does not want to say that line. Like he's looking down, like he even knows how garbage this line is. Like, oh my,
his eyes look dead inside. His eyes look dead inside. And he's like, somehow Palpatine returned. Honestly,
he's like, oh my god.
But Tavia, that's not a spin-off of the that's not. The Spider-Verse movies don't count as the spin-offs. We're talking about the live-action ones. Atchison says, I think both of the Venom films are awful. It's okay. You're allowed to be wrong. And Tom Hardy was terrible in both of them. I thought he was pretty good as Eddie. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. He's basically just playing Tom Hardy, but you know.
There's so many actors that do that. So at this point, I'm just used to it. The other thing is going back to Kickass, my other problem with it is that they basically just kill off the main villain in the most weeby way, and then they bring him back like, oh no, he's still alive in a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
It was just, it's that. So that's why
I bet when you saw it, you were like, mother.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a pun to the villain's actual name. Which, again, I'm like...
The Mother Frugger.
Mm-hmm. But it would be nice to have a Spider-Man movie with Spider-Man in it. Looking at you, Sony. Yeah, I know. It's almost like...
It would be nice to have a Spider-Man movie where they're trying to save Peter Parker from being born, where they can actually call him Peter.
Yes, exactly.
See, this is the worst part about Madam Web, is like knowing the original story was kind of like a Terminator thing, where they're trying to save baby Peter Parker from being born. That actually sounds kind of cool.
I would so watch that, but no. But J.J. Abrams, say the line, Oscar Isaac. Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's live footage of what happened during that scene. And Brown says, to be honest, kind of characters that Andrew Spider-Man's universe has now because of spin-off movies. If they make now Amazing Spider-Man 3, it would be way better than the MCU. Yeah, exactly. And what's kind of funny, if you look, if you're paying attention,
you gotta say it right. MCU.
Yeah, if you're paying attention to the background and everything like that, it's basically canon to the Amazing movies.
Well, to be fair, originally this movie was supposed to be set in the 90s, which would line up with the Amazing movies perfectly. I think originally they did meant this to be amazing. It just doesn't make sense. Why can't the Sony Spider-Man be Andrew Garfield and the Marvel one be Tom? I don't get it. Clearly, there's a demand for more Tom Holland movies. Tom Holland would love to do it. He's capable of doing it. I just don't get it.
Well, that's one of the many things Marvel does that everyone's like, why? I don't know. And if you're telling me because the audiences would be confused about two Spider-Man, BS. The audience is not as stupid as people think.
I mean, come on. It's not like we had a whole movie about multiple Spider-Men.
That made over $1 billion. We had a live action one with 3 Spider-Men. And it made $1 billion after the MCU started to become the M downgrading quality U. No one should trust Sony after Spider-Man 3. Okay. I don't like Tom Holland Spider-Man. Yeah, a lot of people don't. Some goes with... Yeah, WB has that stupid idea of keeping... but so it's kind of funny is that it came out that Gunn was hired to write Superman and originally the plan was it was going to be essentially the Batman, where it's a separate version of the characters. So you could have, if you don't like Henry Cavill, you could have had a Gunn Superman. If you wanted,
but Gunn changed his mind.
But yeah, exactly. Because
also,
doesn't that seem like a good idea, Nick? What?
Speaking of Gunn changing his mind, can we talk about Peacemaker for a second?
Sure. good for. By the way, hey, what's up, Legion? It wasn't great. It wasn't great, but you're allowed to have your opinion. Yeah, the fact, because remember, here's what he's not understanding: the general audience. So John Cena's Peacemaker is heavily tied to the DCEU because the DCEU Justice League show up. The general audience is not going to pay attention to, oh, this is a reboot. This is a reboot. This is done this Earth. They're not going to pay attention to that.
All they care, all the thing. Here's the thing, like even if you explicitly go out and say it in like the first episode, like this is in a different universe now. The audience is going to remember at the end of the season. Gal Gadot. Did Gal Gadot appear?
That Wonder Woman, that Cavill Superman, basically,
and the person who I do not wish to name appeared. Literally them. And so it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and adding on to the fact, I love where he tries to say that like Peacemaker was the biggest series on Max, and I'm like, didn't it come out that WB actually inflated the numbers for Max shows?
And didn't James Gunn's Suicide Squad actually do worse than the original?
Yeah, isn't that kind of funny how that works? It's and you know what's kind of funny? Even the Studio Squad version is way better. But anyway, wasn't it Zaslav? Yeah, exactly. So and. Honestly, what I think, and by the way, to Debbie, it wasn't Zaslav who hired Gunn originally. It was DeLuca to write Superman, but it wasn't gonna be like the main Superman. It was going to be a side character, like how we have Pattinson as Batman, which I think that could have been a good compromise.
I wonder who the original director. Can I be honest with you? I would love for Joe Johnston to direct a Superman movie.
What did he do beforehand?
Let's see here. He did The Rocketeer, Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yes. Yes, for the love of God, yes. Atchison says Charlton Comics Peacemaker, the joke. Yeah, exactly. Even what's kind of funny is that when Blue Beetle was coming out, I read the original Blue Beetle series written by Giffen, and what's kind of interesting about it, Peacemaker shows up in that, and he's much more of a serious character, and I like that version a lot better. I hate the version in the movies now.
Yeah,
it looks dumb. That's all I'm gonna say. Good guns.
Also, since Peacemaker was a Charlton character, does that mean the comedian was the Peacemaker analog for Watchmen?
Apparently. But again, here's the thing. He goes, "Oh yeah, season 1 is not canon." Again, the general audience, first off, is not on social media, so you're not touching your audience, and then you make it so you're just confusing people when a time when multiverse stuff is not the way to go, when the audience is getting burnt off on it. That's not working. Gunn once said he doesn't get superhero taken seriously, especially Batman. I would make goofy versions. Yeah.
Yeah, so the comedian was actually based off of Peacemaker.
And yet he's a better character. Isn't that funny?
No joke.
Isn't that funny? No joke. Yeah, Nick, the comedian was. Yeah, exactly. I love Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle. Yeah, that was a good one. And that's my thing there. That's my point whenever I'm reading all these old stuff, and I'm like, I like these characters before James Gunn changed them. Isn't that interesting? But really, as it applies to the DCU, honestly, this is again why I don't have any faith in the DCU, and because he's relying on the comic book fandom to carry the movie, which, as we've seen, the past 2023 proved that the comic book audience, it is very unreliable to show up for movies that were marketed towards them. I mean, look at Flash. How many times was Michael Keaton in the trailers? They were like, "Look, it's Michael Keaton. Come see the movie," and everyone was really excited about the Flash
movie. They barely showed the Flash. I wonder why.
Well, yeah, but my point is, it's like in addition to Ezra's stuff, when they were showing Keaton's Batman, that was like, "Please come see this movie. It's got your favorite Batman." Did they? It became one of the lowest performing movies in Warner Brothers history. It's almost like playing off to people's nostalgia doesn't work.
Well, oh no, the takeaway is, if you play to people's nostalgia, you better have a decent enough movie to back it up.
Well, that too, because arguably Man of Steel plays off to people's nostalgia.
See, here's the problem with movie studios. Movie studios nowadays think, oh, if we dangle enough member berries in front of these people, they'll be like dogs. You know, like, hey, you remember this? Remember this? It's like keys jingling in front of a baby. That's how they view us.
Yeah, but I call that putting on nostalgia armor, and they use that to block out a really crappy plot.
Well, the nostalgia art is made of 10, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because according to nostalgia, that should be like the highest. That should be like one of the best movies ever, because they even have the Michael Keaton Batman theme.
Well, to be fair, the movie that must not be named has that, and look how that did.
Yeah, and that's not how that works. Yeah, it is, Tevia. That's the way it works. That is honestly the way it works with that.
So if I put the Michael Keaton Batman theme into my intro, then I'll have the best podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, apparently that's the thing.
Well, what's actually going to happen is I have the most copyright struck podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really where that's why I don't. That's one of the reasons why I don't have faith, particularly when he says, "Oh yeah, Dawn of Superman is my main thing." But that didn't work so well for Superman Returns.
Yeah,
which is still a fun movie, but that's the reason why it didn't do well. Dave says mainstream audiences are hesitant to watch most superhero movies because they've been burned from years of mediocre slops and bad films. It's going to take a while to gain trust again. Yeah, there's again, if you show them a good movie that has good like word of mouth, because here's the thing. I'm going to say this. So Snyder was on Rogan, like I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago,
and literally the internet exploded as a result.
Guess how many views that episode has now? 1 million.
Okay, play the Dr. Evil clip.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Where is it? Is it?
Come on, you gotta have it.
I have it. I know I definitely have it. I'm just trying to find it. Do I really not? If I don't have it, I'm gonna be pissed.
How much does an average Rogan episode get? Do you know?
I'll check that as a matter of fact right now.
Actually, pull it up. Put it on the screen. Let's put it on the screen. Let's see the audience see it.
Okay, let me Joe Rogan. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and then we'll go through a couple of episodes and we'll go through the viewage for episodes. Actually, a lot of them get like 1 million views, so it's interesting the way they do that. Let's check. All right, so look.
Also, it's important to note Rogan only recently returned to YouTube, so
yeah. So Kevin James 1.7, Riley Gaines 1.2, Joe our boy. By the way, it's kind of funny how like the numbers of his episode happens to add up to 214, which was the number he always used to say that that's how long the Snyder cut is. Chris,
yeah, I was seeing people point out the numbers. I was like, wait, I don't get it.
Yeah. So depending on the guest, you could get like a million views. But again,
how many did? Yeah, so he got about average.
He got about average, and yes, some of them get a million. In fact, you know what? I could probably just do this. Let me do this. So, well, obviously, his older episodes are going to have more, but in terms of a short time period, isn't it interesting how he got that many things? Brown says Gunn considers people on Twitter to be comic book people, but most of them are pretending to be comics book people. And many of the Gunn fans are actually Marvel fans, not DC fans. Again, pandering to the wrong people. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Studios need to learn to not rely on nostalgia. Also, I'm agreeing with you guys with my previous comment. Apologize for confusion. Okay. Okay, and anime and manga get away with that because they have a larger audience, and they produce. Here's the difference between with anime and manga. They provide actual quality stories. It's not armor, because when it's, I count it as nostalgia armor if the plot is crappy. With anime and manga, chances are you're going to get a solid story. So that's why people would go with that. By the way, Henry Cavill returning would set the internet on fire. Yes, it would.
I mean, it's not like he didn't like. Remember when he did return the first time, and like I swear I have nostalgia for like that month and a half where Henry Cavill was returning and we knew we were getting it. We were all so freaking happy. Like
we actually did a reaction to it on this show, as a matter of fact. But like,
I miss those times.
Hey, it could very well happen again. I'm just saying, because what's interesting is that, so when Dan Lin came in as the head of film at Netflix, the CEO said, I want to be clear, the changing of the head of Netflix in no way indicates a change in strategy. Then you add on to the fact that Netflix has been making a big push towards licensing content. I wonder if there was a hashtag about licensing something that was DC.
Spearheaded by a certain queen.
Yeah, it's not like it's scrolling across the bottom of my screen right about now. Cavill should have sued Warner Bros. For what they did to him. Shameful. It could be if they yes. Plus, anime have good stories, and if there's bad manga, it doesn't get adapted. Yeah, so there you go. That's my point there. If it's quality stuff, it's not nostalgia armor. It's nostalgia points, I say.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I know that was really like going everywhere on that. But all in all, so in terms of like, you know what? We might as well go to the Q&A segment of the show, because it sounds like we're done talking about Kick-Ass 2. Nick, how do you rate Kick-Ass 2 out of 10?
7 out of 10.
Yeah, with me, it's not horrible. So it's definitely above average. So yeah, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Now, Q&A time, and the way these Q&A things are going to work is about every live stream is going to have this now. You guys can ask us any questions you want about really anything that involves pop culture topics. But in the meantime, for 5 out of 10 says Tavia. Okay, that makes sense.
Jared, what is one way Wonder Bat could work?
If it's not anytime it's someone else as Wonder Woman and Batman. What I mean is that if it's not Bruce and Diana, if it's like Damian and Cassie, like they did in Deceased, I think that could work.
No. Okay. Here's my Wonder Bat thing.
Oh no.
Right, so it's 20 years on. Dick Grayson is Batman. Donna Troy is Wonder Woman.
That works. That's why I'm in favor of it, as long as it's not Bruce and Diana, because Bruce and Diana are incompatible as people.
So, but Donna Troy and Dick Grayson have had relations before. They are compatible.
That's why I'm like, okay, there's precedence for that. There's stronger precedence for that. And plus, also, I'm going to add an addendum. Bruce Timm cannot be involved in any way.
Crap.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No. Bruce Timm, no, if I had my way, he wouldn't be involved in Batman, period, anymore. After the whole like Batcest thing, that should have been them kicking him to the curb.
Okay, Jared, I need to address something. This has been gnawing at me. I get that you don't like some of Bruce Timm's decisions. That's fine. But you act like he is like this net negative on the show. Like, he actually did do positive things for DC Universe. If you don't like some of his decisions, that's perfectly fine. But I don't like the way you kind of betray him as like this like net negative. You know, he's the worst thing ever. In my opinion, he's not.
Well, he made Superman a weakling. He made.
I'm not arguing that he didn't make bad decisions. I'm not saying he didn't make really dumb decisions. He did. But, he very like you know, he made very bad decisions, but he also has done some good stuff.
Okay, it's just, to me, the bad starting to outweigh the good in terms of every time he releases something, it starts off good, and then there's one decision that I'm like, oh God. It's like Bruce Timm wrote this for sure. Brown says, I saw a funny rumor on Twitter. Obviously, it was a troll. Lois impregnated Superman, and Superman legacy, and is holding Soups his hand. Well, that's with James Gunn's universe, because apparently in the Superman movie, Lois Lane is going to be the main character. Otherwise known as my personal hell. Lois Lane and Ultraman. No, it's Lois Lane and General Zod. Question: with the Crisis on Infinite Earths and in Tomorrowverse, I'm wondering what DC stories do you want to see adapted? Not the death of Superman, that's for sure. Stop adapting that freaking story. That's like how every time we have a Flash movie, it has to be Flashpoint. Stop it. There are other good Superman stories. What about you, Nick?
Me about what?
What DC storylines would you like to see get turned into an animated movie or show?
Trying to think of one that hasn't. I don't know. Like, I feel like the early 2000s era of like Batman hasn't really been properly adapted. Like, I don't know.
Probably here's Brown. Bruce Timm has become this cult figure for many people who consider the Timmverse is what DC Comics should be, and that's what pissed off so many people about Bruce Timm. Yeah, because everyone's like, okay, so, because here's my problem with that. He pushed Wonder Bat so hard in that show that everyone thinks that like Wonder Bat has been a thing forever. He does these things, and people think that that's the way the characters have always been. And that's why I say no. The movie should steer far away from the Timmverse.
I mean, honestly, I didn't even hear the word Wonder Bat until like 2016. So,
well, that's because it was because overall Tim did way more good than harm for DC. The DCU was not a perfect universe, but BTAS alone makes it worth it. Let me put it this way: when you get to Justice League and Batman Beyond, that's where in the interim, Justice League, there was more stuff done during the show that pissed me off, but with Batman, wait, so Kemby, what did Tim do now? No, we're just bringing up about how we're just disputing that. I'm just disputing people when they say that like Bruce Timm's universe should be the basis for DC. When you look at the decisions he's made in other movies, I'm like, I don't want to see that in actual live action. I don't want to see Hawkgirl, Wonder Woman. Kingdom Come is what I want to see adapted. Yes. And particularly if you can find a way.
Kingdom Come is the end of the line. Kingdom Come is your Endgame movie. I'm sorry.
Or Elseworlds.
It's still kind of like an end to the era.
I mean, plus it would be a movie where Lois Lane it's gotten rid of in the first 5 minutes, so that would actually be very nice for me.
I swear, when we go see the Kingdom Come movie in theaters, that happens. If you don't cheer, I'm gonna be like, you are not the man I know.
You'd be like, yes. Batman back. Yeah, exactly. My only complaint for Bruce Timm is a Batman fanboy. Yeah, to be clear, his Batman stuff is great up until Justice League. BTAS is fine. When you get to Justice League and the tie-in comics for Batman Beyond, not Batman Beyond, to be sure, the show's fine. I'm talking about the tie-in material that's supposed to be canon to it. That's when I started to see the cracks. Plus, he was heavily involved in what happened in the Killing Joke movie.
Also, this is a preview for when we review Epilogue. I think the twist with Terry McGinnis is really freaking stupid. I'm just gonna come out and say that. Like,
you mean the whole Clone Wars thing?
He's not okay. It's not even that. Okay, so for a little spoiler, basically what they did is they gave Terry's whatever an injection that overrode his swimmers with Bruce's swimmers. So he's shooting Bruce's sperm.
Yeah, that is the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah. And then she literally hired the Phantasm to kill her parents. And also, the other part is, I love this, is when Terry hears that, he immediately does not get pissed off. Like, wait, you hired someone to kill my parents? You know, kind of thing.
Yeah, spoil it all, said Ken. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Brown asks, how much would Superman Legacy make realistically? I'd say
600
about
to 700 is my prediction.
Yeah, so somewhere in the Man of Steel era. Spoiler, like
it's not going to make more. It's not going to make more than the Batman. I don't think so.
No, but no.
Because the Batman actually had a really good buzz going into it. Like the marketing campaign was really smart, really sound, and it had a lot of buzz going into it. Legacy just does not have that.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't okay, and then Kingdom Come is overrated. The Alex Ross did the heavy lifting for that comic. Yeah, exactly. And what tie-in comics? The tie-in comics is where it was established that the reason why Nightwing doesn't show up in Batman Beyond is because Batman impregnated Batgirl. That alone, I was like, okay, you know what? I don't want to hear him having like this perfect DC universe. That's and I love Ken. Spoil it like Stephanie Brown. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, let's see. Here's the thing: the scenario that I could see happening when it relates to Superman, and Nick, you can tell me what you think about this, is that if the movie doesn't do well, they'll attribute it up to a solo movie, and we'll start hearing a lot about how the movies are being reworked to be solo movies. And by the way, Dave says, in this climate, I'm predicting 600 million for a Superman reboot, maybe less. It won't make as much as Man of Steel. Oh, really?
See, I think because here's the thing that everyone tries to copy the MCU, but they don't really copy the MCU. Because look what happened with Phase 1. Phase 1 films were largely self-contained. They only really came together for a together movie. They slowly built it up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you like, I see every once in a while say like, oh, the MCU formula said like, no one other than the MonsterVerse has actually honestly tried to copy the MCU formula verbatim, which is start off with your characters, make good movies, and then build up to a crossover. Everyone else just tries to cut in line, cut to the chase, and they all fail. So that's the problem, is nobody's actually copying what the MCU did. MonsterVerse kind of did, and then that's why it still has some success. Yeah,
exactly. Then adding on to the fact that here's what people are not expecting, are not understanding when they say the Superman legacy movie is going to make a lot of money. I'm going to say this. The Superman IP has never been as big as the Batman IP. It never has. The only time it was close was the Christopher Reeve movies.
Basically, the thing is, in the 80s is when it flopped. It's when it flipped.
Yeah,
because Superman was the number one IP up until like the 80s when Batman really came to his own, and then they got like a lot of those really good like Dark Knight Returns, all those good stories, Death in the Family, and then the movie. Like there's a reason why Superman was the first one to get a movie.
Yeah.
So I'd say in the 80s is when the popularity flipped.
Yeah. Let me clarify. I'm not saying he was never that big. What I mean is that at a certain point, the 80s is when the Superman
Batman was perfectly positioned to take advantage of the changing tone of the 80s. He was a perfect superhero for that time.
Yes, exactly. And since then, the Superman IP really hasn't been as big as the Batman IP. That's why we never had a Superman movie make $1 billion, where you had like a movie labeled Batman versus Superman make, adjusting for inflation, $1 billion. By the way, someone challenged me on that. They're like, how'd that work for BVS, huh? That movie wasn't popular. I'm like, it made $1 billion adjusting for inflation, so how is it not popular? By the way, Dave says, now a Henry Cavill Superman movie would make close to or more than $1 billion. People love his Superman, would welcome him back. That's the one where I'm like close, particularly if you attach Zack Snyder's name to it. Because let me put this, here's the thing about Zack Snyder, what the DC fans don't get. People show up for his movies. That's
okay, Jared, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. So let's pretend that we are in Fantasyland. Henry Cavill's coming back for a Man of Steel 2. And Zack Snyder is directing. Like literally everything is perfect. What storyline should they adapt?
Brainiac, because then what you could do, have Brainiac invade, and then on his ship. Because here's always been my idea. So it's the Brainiac.
No. I'm not saying what villain. I'm saying what storyline. What's the storyline? What storyline?
There's a storyline called Superman Brainiac. It's the invasion, because here's why. Because here's my pitch for it. The Brainiac invasion happens. Superman flies into the ship to fight Brainiac. He finds Kara, and then you bring in Sasha Kaye as Supergirl. That's how you do that. And then a question: if we got Blackest Night animated movie, would you be happy? Nope. Because you have to, if it's Blackest Night alone, no, you have to set the part of why that storyline is so good is because if you read the Green Lantern series from Rebirth and on, and by Rebirth I mean Green Lantern Rebirth, not the crappy DC Initiative, it builds upon that. It's essentially the end game of Green Lantern.
Yeah. Plus it also relies on like a lot of nostalgia stuff. Like, for example, the Golden Age Superman had died like a few years prior, and actually bring back the Golden Age Superman because of Black Lantern. So it's like, oh my, it's kind of like, it's like, desecrating a corpse kind of thing. You get this emotional feel because your Golden Age Superman had died like how many years prior? did Golden Age Superman die to that event?
Let me see. All right, so Infinite Crisis.
By the way, when we're talking about Golden Age Superman, we're talking about like the 38 to like the Crisis Superman.
So
what is Golden Age Superman?
Infinite Crisis. Hang on. So Infinite Crisis, when he died, happened in 2006. Blackest Night happened in. So about 3 years previous is when Golden Age Superman died.
So in comics terms, the wound was fairly fresh.
Yeah. A question: how would you do Sinestro Corps War? Again, build up to it, and then like what I would do if we're doing Green Lantern, let's say throughout all the different for the post-credit scene of all these movies, I would have like a Sinestro Corps ring show up and recruit whoever the villain was of that movie, like essentially like Scarecrow, essentially. And then the Sinestro Corps movie is all the Yellow Lanterns show up and fight. New 52 Superman had potential, but wasn't around for long enough to make an impact to this very day. He did that. That's what Man of Steel was. I still run into people who have no idea what the new 52 is, and that's DC's problem. Well, it has to be to pick up after Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yeah, exactly. I would love that. Warworld Saga. Yes, that would work as a Superman movie, but that one you should build up to a little bit more. That could be Superman. That could be Man of Steel 3, I would say. Because obviously I think the Brainiac invasion works well, because then you can bring in Kara as well, and then have like Kara, instead of having John hold down the fort, you can have Kara hold down the fort as the super person while Superman is fighting on Warworld.
Mm-hmm.
Plus the fact I think Warworld could work better as like an HBO Max series. And then Dave says that Batman Beyond twist basically turned Amanda Waller into Terry's mom or grandma.
I mean, in a metaphysical sense, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh god, see again. This universe does stuff where I'm like, question. I know it's a sad subject, but with Akira Toriyama gone, I was wondering, do you believe Hollywood should try to adapt Dragon Ball again? Nope. Nope.
Especially not in the current era we are in. I think the only reason they haven't touched it is they know the stink of evolution still like. The stink hasn't gotten away yet, because people will reference it, and it's like, unless that movie is like the best movie ever, it's because you're going to compare it to Dragon Ball Evolution.
So you mean if it's directed by Zack Snyder, we could do that? Can you imagine? By the way,
can you imagine a Dragon Ball Z movie directed by Zack Snyder and the heads exploding?
By the way, Nick, can you imagine a Halo movie directed by Zack Snyder? Slow motion gunfire, it's kind of like Rebel Moon. Why is WB not making a Batman Beyond live action movie? Remember, they were supposed. Remember,
they've been wanting to as far back as like the early 2000s.
Okay, Nick, remember, we were supposed to get a Spider-Verse style Batman Beyond movie, but instead we're getting Jurassic League.
Also, like, can you pull up the concept images, because they look so good?
Yes, I will right now. And by the way, Dave's like, no, unfortunately, Hollywood will try, since Toriyama isn't there to stop them. Yeah, live action adaptation, never worked.
So obviously, I don't think they're going to bring back Will Freddy. I mean, they could, but like, let's assume this is a role
they are for Crisis.
No, but let's assume for like they're doing this Batman Beyond Spider-Verse thing. Who do you think should play Terry? Will Freddy notwithstanding?
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Possibly, but this is going to be a role. Like, I could totally see them bringing back.
At this.
That looks so good.
That looks so freaking good. I would love to see that. Plus the Spider-Verse type of animation style. And by the way, it would be the creatives behind Spider-Verse working on it. So it would look just like Spider-Verse, which that art style works so well for Batman Beyond.
By the way, old Bruce has to be voiced by Michael Keaton.
Yes, that would actually work really well as a little.
It has to be a former Batman actor. So like, if they get George Clooney, like,
oh God,
why?
No,
but okay.
No.
By the way, George Clooney still owes me $12 for my Batman and Robin ticket.
Timothy Chalamet, if he doesn't play Nightwing,
Timothy Chalamet would be a good Nightwing. I'm not gonna lie.
He could if you see him in Dune.
I mean, have you seen Dune 2 yet, Jared?
No, I haven't. I want to. Tavia says,
it's so good.
Question: why did WB abandon a Batman Beyond anime movie for a Jurassic League one? Because to me, here's why. Who's running DC Studios?
Like, look at how good that looks.
Yeah, James Gunn only goes off of what he wants to see, and because remember, he's more of a fan of the obscure stuff. I mean, he has 100% admitted that he likes the obscure stuff more. But this looks way better than a mini series that came out and everyone forgot about.
Also, you know who needs to be the villain of the first movie?
Who?
Spellbinder. Imagine the visuals if they have Spellbinder be the villain.
I think they gave an idea on what the villain was going to be. We pitched it. It
was going to be Blight. It's going to be Blight.
Yeah, but again, look at
how
good this looks. Look at how good this looks. I want this.
That looks so good.
Yeah, and Tevye, yes, we don't need Michael. We don't need
imagine the credit sequence is like an extended version of the intro where they're playing like a new version of the intro, and like the credit sequence is like.
You mean the opening sequence? Yeah, they could. So, would you have it take up when he's already Batman Beyond, or would you do the origin?
I do the origin. Honestly. Have that be like the first 20 minutes kind of thing.
Me too. And then do like, they could take even a plot from the show and do it.
Well, basically the Blight arc is basically all season 1. So like you could cram the entire Blight arc into season 1. I think the Blight arc, there's enough there. You can make a full 2 hour, 20-minute movie out of it and it'd be good.
But here's the thing, Nick, and Randy brings up a good point. Do you trust Warner Brothers to do it justice? That answers my question right there. Because I certainly don't.
Look how good that looks.
It looks good, but do you trust Warner Brothers to let them actually do their thing? And I question, why does Warner Brothers hate money? Because for me, this Batman Beyond movie looks amazing, and the fact that WB is doubling down on dumb ideas like live service, because it's WB.
Imagine a Batman Beyond game in the style of Spider-Man 2018.
Now, that would be great. Brown asks, the general from Avatar could be a good older Batman. What do you think? He could do it. However, Dave brings up a good point. It has to be Michael Keaton. They owe him after setting up the Flash.
Well, to be fair, I want Michael Keaton. Oh, Dave's got perfect actor for Blight. He's got perfect actor.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes, that actually works really well. Yeah.
Also, I would do my like. Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down? Like, I want to hear William Dafoe say that line.
He could do the Green Goblin voice, and that actually works really well.
Or Mark Hamill for Blight, but they're not going to do that. Like William Dafoe, that is like perfect. I can see them doing that.
Yeah, I know. That would 100% work. And again, it's because
also Sydney Sweeney for Dana.
Yeah, exactly. And here's why, Tevye.
Zendaya for Max.
Here's the fan base when they basically said that they shot down Batman Beyond for Jurassic League. You ready?
What is this?
Because here's the thing about a Batman Beyond animated movie. You're hitting, but like Jurassic League could probably hit the kids market. Like it has a possibility to be for root fair, but Batman Beyond hits both because you're like the kids will want to see it because it's colorful Batman. The adults want to see it because Batman Beyond. Then also it's like parents be like, oh, I love Batman Beyond as a kid. Well, I'm going to take my son to see him, take my daughter to see it. It's like
here's the thing:
all the numbers.
It's a Batman product. Batman always does well.
This, like, honestly, a Batman Beyond movie in that style would easily make $1 billion.
That could make $1 billion. So, like, this way, it could at least make Spider-Verse numbers or more than that. But no, DC just wants to mine the bottom of the barrel for projects. This is why I have severe problems there. All in all, I think that is Jurassic League actually going to be theatrical or direct to video? Probably direct to video or Max, but still, it's
going to be Max.
But still, you had the guys behind Spider-Verse that wanted to do a Batman Beyond movie. What?
Lord and Miller.
Yeah, You have the guys behind Spider-Verse, which has made Sony and Marvel much moolah, and everyone loves those movies. And yet you said no for an unknown project.
I don't know like what dirt Gunn has on some of these people, but like he has way too much sway for his station. Like,
yeah, second Warner Brothers.
Okay, he did Guardians of the Galaxy. He's had a good run of movies, but there's no like not even Kevin Feige has this amount of power.
Yeah, Tavia asked question: do you believe James Gunn's plan will succeed with him connecting everything to movies? Nope. Well, remember he walked back the video game thing real quick when everyone was like, "That's not going to work."
Apparently, it's still back on, from what I hear. Like, this is why I hate. There's so much of a confusing mess, a cacophony of things, so much fake stuff, so much like Gunn says one thing one day, he says something the next day. It's a headache, honestly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you're trying to build confidence for the brand, you can't change your mind constantly. That's the thing about Zack Snyder when he was doing his stuff. He didn't change his mind. It was like, here's the story. Here's where we're going to do it. We're done. That's it.
Yeah.
You need consistency. And by the way, WB doubling down on live service games. But here's the problem. The head of WB Games doesn't know what a live service game is because he tried to say that Hogwarts Legacy was a live service because a bunch of players can all come in live to contribute to the world. That was his thing.
What a freaking moron.
And this is the guy that heads WB Games. Lord and Millar were the original directors attached to the Flash during the Snyderverse. Can you imagine them directing the Flash?
Probably would have been a lot better.
That was the original. If I remember correctly, that was around the time because it was Antoine Fuqua, and then it was them, and it was still on that idea where it was going to be a Flash Cyborg team up movie. That was not going to be time travel. It was going to be essentially what it was going to be is them fighting the Rogues. And then at the end, it would tease the Reverse Flash.
Anthony Starr, baby.
Probably played by Anthony Starr. I would so love him to play Reverse Flash. That would work so well.
It was me, Barry. It was me all along.
Do you remember the original? So what Jay Oliva came out and said, the original plan was that, so the entire universe, after Justice League Part 3, there was going to be the actual Flashpoint movie, like legit Flashpoint. And it was going to be revealed that the reason why that the Snyderverse Justice League acts kind of like not consistently, even though they arguably do, but the reason why they act weird is because it was the Reverse Flash screwing with Barry's life. It was literally him the whole time.
Oh my God.
Imagine that reveal at the end of the DCEU. And then it would end with the reboot like it did at the end of the Flashpoint comic, and they would open up to the new universe. Imagine if they actually did that.
It's like they're allergic to good stories, I swear.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm just like,
oh, good idea, Tech. Destroy it.
Yeah, exactly. Tavia says, we were also supposed to get a Cyborg movie. Yeah, I think that would have worked out. Because remember, Tavia, this would have come after Zack Snyder's Justice League if that movie came out, and that would have built up Cyborg's brand more so he could handle a movie by himself. I think that would have worked out better. Who would have ever thought that studio interference would be such a disaster? And people actually think
as old as time.
Yeah, WB and WB and BS. That's the song. All right. Yeah, and you wonder why I don't trust WB to handle DC anymore, because they have shown every single time they have tried to do something with DC, it has screwed up. And Brown, be careful what you ask for, because we were supposed to get a New Gods movie directed by Ava DuVernay and written by Tom King. Are you sure you want that? Doesn't that also make Darkseid obsolete with that plan? No, it would be mainly Darkseid still happens in Justice League 3, but what would have happened is that the whole plan still happens. It's just the reason why the characters act kind of funky is because of the Reverse Flash. It's still the Darkseid invasion. It's just the story after the Darkseid invasion would be Reverse Flash saying, I changed the lives of all of your friends just to screw with you, Barry. No, not by her, but with someone capable. Yeah, exactly. But the minute you also show me that like Tom King is writing like the Green Lantern series and like all that. The guy that had Hal Jordan commit suicide by shooting his ring in his head in a Batman comic. Yeah, I trust Tom King. But Dave says, I love Michael Keaton's Batman, but ideally he should have been in Batman Beyond, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan should have been Flashpoint Batman. Yes, thank you. All that, yes. Because can you imagine Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne Batman?
The Flashpoint Thomas Wayne Batman.
Yeah, actually Flashpoint Thomas Wayne Batman. And I could imagine, this would be really funny if Zach...
No, I got you one better. Imagine it's Thomas Wayne Batman, but he has a barbed wire bat.
I was about to say, imagine what Zach does. It's like in the background.
Hungry.
Yeah. No, what I could see Zach doing is he doesn't actually wield the bat, but in the background, like hanging on a wall, you can see a bat with barbed wire on it. Yeah, and there's like green paint and stuff like smeared on it, so it's like he was being the Joker. That could work. That would be so.
Bro, do you realize in that universe the Joker is his wife?
Yeah, I know, but
that just makes it even worse.
He still fights the Joker. I thought Sony these movies keep screwing up. Yeah, exactly. WB makes Sony look competent. Wow, he's not wrong though. He's not wrong until you realize they had greenlit an El Muerto movie, and then I'm like, who? Yeah, but really, the way I see this happening is I don't see the Gunverse being as successful as people think it's going to be. Flashpoint, directed by Zack Snyder, would be awesome. I really like the Flash movie, and I'm honestly surprised WB even managed to make the film that good. The original Flash would have been better, though. Yeah. To me, the Flash movie is not. It's no Batman and Robin terrible. It's not the best movie, but it's not the worst, because I've seen some bad superhero movies. But it should have been good considering the way they were hyping it up as the best DC movie since Dark Knight. And they actually had people not associated with DC, like the D'Amelio family, all of a sudden saying The Flash is the best DC movie.
Stephen King.
Yeah, Stephen King.
I wish I was like a big enough celebrity that Warner Brothers could like come up to my, like Zaslav would personally come to my house, a dump truck full of cash, be like, can you tweet about Flash, please?
And you know what I would do? I would still tweet out it's the worst movie ever, and he'll go, what the hell, dude? I'm like, you told me to tweet about it. You didn't say I had to tweet positively about it.
Well, there goes your snow cone machine, Mr. Whatever.
They even got Tom Cruise into it. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like that. And I'm like, here's the thing.
They're so desperate.
When Zaslav says, oh yeah, I've seen the Superman script. It's so good. And everyone's like, you were the one that was hyping up the Flash. I'm like, I'm sorry. Directed by a guy. Is
Andy Muschietti still attached to Brave and the Bold?
Yes, he is.
Why would you give him Batman after what he did to the Flash? Why?
I have no idea. And by the way, remember, this is also the universe run by a dude that says, I like Superman because he's everything I am. And I'm like, whoa, someone has a high opinion of themselves.
Well, it's certainly high on something.
Yeah, it really annoys me. Basically, this whole thing is like really annoying me, and I really feel like, honestly, just
let me Superman... both, buddy.
Here's the thing. At this point, I just want Superman to come out, because if it's popular, great. If it's a good movie, fine. We can finally be done with this.
And at the end of the day, Jared, I think you're going to agree with what I'm about to say. We want this movie to be good. It's not like we want it to fail. We want a good superhero movie. You know, we at the end of the day, if this movie is good, we will be happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if this movie turns out to be good, we'll actually be like very happy.
Plus,
I would be more than happy to say, this is a great movie. James Gunn did a good job. I would be overjoyed to say that.
Plus, here's the thing. If this is good, guess what? If DC starts to like build up a money with the war chest, it makes it more likely that they could invite Zach back to do his movies, because it'll be like they have the money now. Because that's what people are ignoring. WB just is like crap ton out of money right now, which again, that's the other thing. I could see the scenario going if they're in large enough debt, particularly when there's a sale happening. This is why I say I'm not so sure Superman is going to release. Zaslav could just crank it and say, we need this for the tax write-off. Question: do you
Yeah.
believe if Warner Bros. Will be sold till 2025? I think it's going to be sold to Universal. That's it. And if it's sold to Universal, here's the thing: if it's because we already know it's being sold to Universal. I don't think James Gunn is going to be the head of DC Studios. Here's why: we saw this happen when Discovery bought Warner Brothers. Whenever the new management comes in, they want their people in charge. Unless Gunn has a solid plan, which so far it doesn't look like he does, and unless the Universal is lazy, which I don't think they are.
I mean, look at how Universal's been operating. They're not lazy.
Yeah. So in other words, unless Universal is like, you know what, you have a plan, just do whatever you want, which is not likely to happen because again, when the new regime comes in, they get rid of the main people. How do I know this?
Universal and Paramount are literally the only two studios that actually have their crap together.
Yeah, and then if that happens, I could see them saying, okay, this is not happening. This is not happening. We're not doing a Waller series. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're definitely not doing Swamp Thing. Cancel the Authority. Cancel all these really obscure projects. We're done. That's the way I could see that. And then honestly, at that point,
and then
guess who's...
No. Can I need to play this scenario
real quick. Guess who's also at Universal? Christopher Nolan. Guess who he's best friends with? Zack Snyder. And
so what happens?
Yes,
is basically Gunn goes into a meeting. He's like, oh yeah, here's Christopher Nolan. So we're doing kind of our own DC universe, and Nolan is going to be at the head of it. We'll still have you on for movies here or there. Maybe do some stuff. And he's like, but who's doing Justice League? And then out of that conspicuous, shadowy corner of the room that was never there 5 minutes ago, out steps Zack Snyder, and he's like, I'm here to restore the Snyderverse.
And then a lightning storm happens, and then Black Adam shows up, and he goes, I'm about to you could say the hierarchy of the DCU just changed.
And then some smoke billows up. Jared Leto appears and be like, it's Morbin time.
Yeah,
and all at once, everyone turns to him and says, get out of here.
Yeah. Question: why is James Gunn base his movie off of For All Seasons, which is an uncool version of Superman? Why not Superman American Alien? Well, it's also a not action-packed Superman. Let me put it this way: if he bases it off of For All Seasons and doesn't have any action in the movie, that's going to be another ding on it because you can't have a boring Superman movie. That's it. WB's problem is they set the bar too high, and when they saw Man of Steel didn't meet their expectations, they hit the panic button and made things worse. Yeah, exactly. And by the way, they're going to hit the panic button again. You know how I know that? What did they do with Batgirl? They hit the panic button.
I mean, and here's the thing. Even with the Snyderverse in its compromised state, it was already like making money, and it was rising. I guarantee you, if you had let Zach cook, and we'd have gotten Man of Steel 2, the Batman, and then BVS would have made $1 billion at that point.
Well, here's the thing. Even if they released it the way they released it, if they had released obviously a shortened version of Zack Snyder's Justice League, Justice League would have made $1 billion.
Also, let's also be fair here. If the Ultimate Edition, which the Ultimate Edition is 2.5 hours long, that is not a bad length for a movie, first and foremost.
It's about 3 hours long, and here's how I know that the
no. I'm talking about the Ultimate Edition BVS.
Yeah, the Ultimate Edition
that
would have
made $1 billion.
3 hours.
No, I thought it was 2.5.
No, the crappy version is 2.5.
Oh.
No, but they could still release that in theaters. You know how I know? People sat through the Lord of the Rings movies. The theatrical cut of Lord of the Rings. Yeah,
I still think if they had done Man of Steel 2, the Batman, introduced, and then do a 3-hour version of BVS and not literally not change a single thing, that would have made $1 billion easily.
Well, here's the thing, Nick. What they could have done, even with BVS, is make the Batman movie, the solo Ben Affleck Batman movie, make that show the death of Robin, because that way you then explain why Batman is so dark and BVS.
Do you remember? I've talked about this. The Batman basically runs parallel to Man of Steel. And the finale, and instead of that old guy being in the tower, it's like Dick Grayson or something, and Dick Grayson gets killed in the attack.
Well, you could also do like the standard Joker story and just have it be Jason Todd, and you can have Nightwing show up in the Batfleck movie, and it's like, because Bruce Wayne starts killing, that's when Nightwing just basically goes, I'm done, I'm out, I wash my hands of you, dude, I can't help you. And then he leaves. Then in Batman 2 after Justice League, he comes back because he hears Bruce has been trying to turn a new leaf.
Actually, I'm going to take what you're saying and adapt it, okay?
Sure, go ahead.
So the movie begins with Jason Todd getting killed, and he starts getting more, like, whatever. Mm-hmm. At the end of the movie, he kind of starts to get a little bit lighter. Okay? Mm-hmm. Basically, he had a chance to kill the Joker, and he doesn't. Maybe you can have Gordon have a gun to his face like Hush. And it's like, okay, maybe he's on the right thing. And then by the way, the entire time of this movie, the events of Man of Steel are playing out in the background. Like, you hear news stories.
Yeah, on the news reports. That's fantastic. Go ahead.
And then the last scene is the attack, basically the opening scene from BVS. And then Dick Grayson gets killed. And for a brief moment, like, okay, he's going to be better. Nope. It's like any hope is now gone. And then you go to BVS.
That actually works really well, because a lot of the ways Zach ends his movies is they end. I mean, the next movie begins where the other one ends. So that actually works really well.
Like, not only would that give you hype, and also it says Batman will return, and then you see the Batman the Superman logo pop in. Dear God, the hype.
Yes, exactly. And Brown says Batman MOS Aftermath is the sequel where Batman's story is going on. Yeah, exactly. Question: do you
you want to you could tie one day, like the Killing Joke into this with Death in the Family, One Bad Day, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And remember, we were all Zach said that his version of Catwoman would have been Carla Gugino, and her with Ben Affleck as Batman, that would have been great.
And then it's revealed they had a daughter named Helena.
Yes, exactly. That works. That works. I love that. You could definitely do that. Tavia has a question.
Played by Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah. Question. If this is more of a huge question in itself, but do you believe audiences are tired of cinematic universes in general? Because personally, for me, I'm kind of tired of it.
I don't know. I think it's more of a fact that, like, every other attempt, Monsterverse kind of succeeded, but every other attempt other than those two have been such dismal failures. I think people are tired of the failures. Because greedy execs are going to be greedy, and they want to jump the gun. They keep basically getting in front of themselves and ruining any attempt they have at something to be great.
Yeah, the problem with it is that, no, there are universes that do it really well, but here's what the Monsterverse did. They basically made it so pre-Monarch, it's just the movies you have to keep track of. And that's fine. Because if it's just movies and then the occasional show, yeah, you can keep track of that. But what Marvel did, and what James Gunn's DC, this is the other reason why I don't trust James Gunn's DC Universe plan. Because when you factor in all of these shows that the audience has to keep track of, you're going to burn them out, and then no one's going to see the shows. No one's going to see Paradise Lost unless you make it very obvious. This way, I highly doubt that the same amount of people that would see Batman the Brave and the Bold are going to see Paradise Lost on Max.
I mean, they're doing a Monarch show on, I think, Apple, and it ties into the Monsterverse.
Yeah, but that's my point. They made the Monsterverse made it just one show, one other show you have to keep track of that comes out like when there's not a movie coming out.
Well, basically what the Monsterverse did is they still made good movies, and they had like little small references to each movie. Each movie was largely self-contained, And like, okay, maybe a character will appear here, they'll appear there, or like, oh, they make references to this, like at the end of Kong Skull Island was basically a Kong movie that Monarch was a part of, but at the end, the post-credit scene was like, oh, there's other things, and they had like one view of Godzilla and Ghidorah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's the way you do it. But the way Marvel did is that you now have to watch you now have to watch 5 different shows coming out the same time as the movies. Here's the thing. The shows should be coming out in years where we don't have movies, because then you get to
the show should be optional. That's the problem is like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was downstream, technically not canon, but you can watch it and you don't have to, it doesn't matter. Like the Netflix shows, like they were technically a part of it. The Netflix shows could have been the perfect like side universe. They're technically a part of it. Daredevil might appear, but he's barely going to reference the stuff on Defenders. You don't need to watch any of that corner of the universe to have it's Daredevil. Whatever.
Well, I mean, Dave brings up an interesting point. Unless the trailer for Paradise Lost opens with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman telling the history of the Amazons, no one's going to really care. Exactly. Here's the thing. It's kind of funny. When there was some ambiguity about Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman again, Nick and I said this exact same thing. Because because Gal Gadot herself has become iconic as Wonder Woman, and then she became.
He is the Wonder Woman what Christopher Reeve is as Superman.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing with Henry Cavill being Superman and Ben Affleck to Batman, and you just rip that away.
I would disagree slightly on Ben Affleck as Batman, but definitely Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill is the Superman of our time. People still like Christopher Reeve, but he is but Henry Cavill is acknowledged as this era's Superman.
Yeah, exactly. He's this era's Christopher Reeve. And you saw how many people were excited when Cavill was coming back as Superman. And what Gunn should have said was, okay, you know what? Let's do like a movie to wrap this up, maybe even Kingdom Come. Because that way you could do like the older versions of these characters and the universe there and then do the reboot. That's what they should have done. In fact, that's what DeLuca and Abdi wanted to do. They wanted to do like one final Justice League movie with the cast to kind of wrap that up and then move on to James Gunn's universe. And they took that away. Because I would have been fine if they gave us one more movie with all these people. They could have even told Zach, listen, one Justice League movie, the Dark Side Invasion. Just do that.
So you're saying they just needed one more day?
Skip the Nightmare Timeline storyline. In other words, skip what was supposed to be Justice League 2 and just have do it as a sequel to ZSJL and just do the Dark Side Invasion. Invades the entire DC universe, shows up to fight. You're done. That's it.
I will say, if I had one criticism for Snyder stuff, the timeline, the Nightmare Timeline stuff felt just so shoehorned in, and it just felt like so out of place. The rest of it, if I were a producer, I'd be like, okay, the rest of the movie is good. Cut this Nightmare Timeline stuff out. It doesn't add to the movie.
Okay, fair enough. Even though ZSJL 2 was going to be the Nightmare, but I'm saying cut that out.
There's no build up for it. There's no build up for the Nightmare Timeline. I'm sorry.
Here's the thing: you could just, if you cut out JL2, you could just say they stopped that timeline from happening. But my point is, they could have done one final Justice League movie, wrap it up, you're done, and then move on. Because there wouldn't be this much controversy surrounding James Gunn's DC universe if they actually completed the story.
Yeah,
that's it. Because the Snyder fans would have been like, okay, you respected us enough to wrap it up. You even maybe brought Zach back to finish it up. But no, Dave says it's so stupid how WB didn't wrap up the Snyderverse DCU. Even The Flash didn't reboot the universe. Peacemaker season 2 will have to be a crisis storyline now.
It's not going to be. It's not I have a feeling what they're going to do. They're not even going to acknowledge the fact they're just like, oh, we're in a different universe now. Who cares?
Yeah, Gunn said that Peacemaker season 1 is not canon, and Peacemaker season 2 takes place after Superman. So he's and this is the guy that said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll address it in Peacemaker, and it'll make sense."
Well, here's what's going to happen. He's just going to continue his storylines. He's just going to rip out all references to the Snyderverse, and it's just going to continue on as normal. And he's just going to pretend like, "Oh yeah, we've always been here."
Yeah, that's what it'll do, which I'm like, that's stupid and clunky, and it doesn't work. It didn't work in the comics. It's not going to work here. It's coming from, and remember, the person we're running DC Studios is supposedly someone that really understands the comics. But all in all, I think it's a good place to leave it. So
I just want to say this though.
Yeah,
you want to know what studio is handling transitioning a character from one universe to the other?
Who?
Deadpool. They're basically making it so that the Fox are basically just another brand's timelines.
Yeah, exactly. And they're giving that universe a send-off.
Yeah, it's so crazy that Disney is respecting the Fox universe better than Warner Bros. is respecting its own.
By the way, I have a prediction. if Universal buys WB and gets like DC under their helms, what I could see happening is that they'll do the Snyderverse wrap up because they have the money to do it. Because again, like we said, Universal is doing great in terms of like the major studios. They have the money to do it, and then we'll also hear that they're opening up a DC theme park, and then I will live.
Yeah, like basically, it's a combination of Metropolis, Gotham.
Yeah, I could see them. Yeah, Metropolis and Gotham, because those are the two most iconic places. And then Metropolis,
Also,
they have like the Hall of Justice.
Do you want to know my theory why the Fox universe is getting so much respect?
What?
Kevin Feige produced a lot of those movies.
That's why. That's
why. It's because he produced a lot of those movies, so he wants to show the respect because they're like, it's basically like it's ego because I produced a lot of those movies.
Yes, exactly. So that's my thing there. So in other words, to wrap up, I think that if when the sale goes through, we could hear that they'll be like, okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to hang off on James Gunn's plan. We're going to like retool it. While we're retooling
all
it,
of a sudden
Zach,
you start to hear like Henry's meeting with Zack Snyder.
Yeah, we'll start to hear all this stuff falling into place. We'll start to hear like maybe Zach's meeting with Gal and Ben.
All of a sudden you get a picture of like Henry is doing Zach is doing a picture with both Ben, Gal, and Henry. They're all together for some weird reason.
What we'll do, we'll get a picture, a post on Vero of Zach with the entire cast on his couch. Everyone's all jovial. It's everyone from Justice League.
And then all of a sudden, there's like, okay, so we're releasing the Emerald cut of Justice League with the Green Lantern scene, and we're gonna do a special screening for it. We're gonna have everyone there. And all of a sudden, after the screening, it's announced like
they'll do a Q&A, and the Q&A panel thing is when they announce it.
No. I'm trying to think.
Wait, the head of Universal there. Wait.
Okay. No. This is my fantasy.
Nick,
my fantasy.
Nick, let me finish. The head of Universal is at that panel, and he's talking about, oh man, I really like this. If only we had a sequel. If only there were plans for a sequel for this.
No. This is how it's going to happen. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the screening is going to be in London. Our friend Sammy is going to be there, and basically she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in the live stream. Hopefully, we're hoping to see her. And all of a sudden, we're watching the stream. Our friend Sammy pops up, and she asks about restoring the Snyderverse. And little do we know, this was all planned. They actually came to our girl Sammy, and they said, "Yeah, we're restoring the Snyderverse." And Sammy was the one who got to ask that question.
Yeah, but do they have a backup plan? No. Brown asked one last question. If by some miracle Snyderverse is restored, what are we going to do? Well, first off, we're going to have a massive party on the stream where I get to tell people I was right. I'm going to call out everyone that said this would never happen, and I'm going to say, "What are you doing now, dude?" We are right. We are going to have
we're going to have a live feed of Twitter literally melting down.
And you know what we'll do? The day that announcement happens, all movie night plans are canceled. We're going to watch every Zack Snyder DC movie. We're going to watch Man of Steel.
We shall single-handedly restore the Snyderverse.
Yes, and we're going to put the Restore the Snyderverse hashtag in there. We'll watch Man of Steel. We'll watch BVS. We'll watch Suicide Squad. We'll watch ZSJL. We'll watch Wonder Woman. We'll watch Aquaman. That's what we'll do. That's our plan. And it'll be we'll restream it to all 4 of our channels so everyone can participate in it.
The
so
revolution will be televised.
So everyone can be called out. So that's going to be really fun. I'm going to love that. And it's going to be fun. And I'm saying that in a way that it's going to happen. I am virtually certain that this will happen because there's no reason not to. It would make money. And the only reason why the studio's not doing it is because of ego. That's why. So you know what? It's going to be really fun. And by the way, here's a fun fact I found out. Zach is no longer exclusive to Netflix.
Ooh.
So again, everything's slowly coming to play. And actually, you know what? I want to highlight a series of
watch they announce a Legends of the Guardians 2.
Or like the director's cut of Sucker Punch.
Or I'm trying to think of like the other like stuff that Zach did.
All right, so I'm gonna highlight a tweet thread that
no,
I put out on my Twitter.
It's the first Living Dead movie. I think it's Nightmare of the Living Dead. The first Romero movie in '68. he does a remake of that.
Yeah. So I want to show you guys something. So I did a tweet thread last night about the Sell Snyderverse to Netflix that I want to highlight real quick because I'm awesome. So what I said here is, and I'll like, can I zoom in on this? I don't think I can, but I'll read it. So is it complicated? Yes. Are there lots of barriers? Also, yes. But anyone saying that Sell Snyderverse to Netflix can't happen at all is either naive or lying. Continuing on. Factoring the circumstances, actually says, also factoring the circumstances regarding Zack Snyder's Justice League. WB didn't want to release it, but they were overridden by AT&T. So it doesn't have to be WB's decision. It could legit be Universal saying, do this. Moving on. If Universal sees a sufficient demand, the same could happen again. There you go. Then I said, add to that the statements by Zack Snyder and Netflix in support of licensing the Snyderverse. And Netflix said the new leadership is not a change in strategy. So Sell Snyderverse to Netflix is more likely to succeed than people think. I dropped fire that day. I dropped fire. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be fun. And then you know what? I think if they allow Zach to come back and finish the story, I'm gonna be more likely to give the Gunverse more of a shot. I trust Universal more than any studio because you know why? Here's why Universal is succeeding. And Nick, you can back me up on this. They're giving the fans what they want.
Also, imagine just a Universal world where it's like Tim Burton-esque Gotham City.
Yes, they could do that, and they could have like a ride that's like one of those movie rides, but it's also like Tim Burton's Batman and all that. That could be really fun.
No, it's like it's a screen attraction, kind of like the Back to the Future one, where each one is in like the Batwing.
Yeah. Oh, you know what they could also do? If they do a Universal work for DC, this is what I really want. I want like a walkthrough museum of like DC's film history. Like they have like stuff from like Christopher Reeve's Superman, the Snyderverse. That they have like a museum where you walk through and there's like all the costumes and everything is up. I think it'd be really fun if they can do that. Kind of like the way Disney does it. But anyway, so that's discussion for another stream. We may do that as a Under Two Capes. So. Nick, where can one find you and what have you got coming on your channel?
All right. So, find me on Twitter/X. Just search Phoenix Press. YouTube, the same. I'm taking a kind of little bit of a hiatus from the pre-recorded content, but I do have some awesome streams scheduled. For example, Friday Night Frenzy this week, and then we might actually be wrapping up Pokemon on Saturday, and the next week is going to be, and then this Tuesday. This Tuesday, me and Jared are going to be hanging out. Screecher is going to, and Atlas are going to be teaming up with the Justice League, so that'll be pretty cool. Playing DC vs. Online.
You can say we're going online.
Yes. And then exclusive announcement. Jared, you're getting exclusive here. So, I know you guys all like GingerCast 1, but this is going to be the announcement of the GingerCast 2. The search for more gingers. We have found some more gingers. Okay.
Also, I'm playing that clip when the Snyderverse is restored.
You better. So GingerCast 2 is going to be Tuesday, October 20th at 8 p.m. And as of this moment, we have one extra ginger that has confirmed. Lost Lenore.
Yay!
Who, by the way, did the first major piece for Screecher. So, hey, yeah, take full circle.
That's going to be fun. So, for me, on tomorrow, Britt and I are releasing Super Wonder Legacy episode 31, where we provide an in-depth 3-hour analysis of the Superman Wonder Woman book, the first volume, Power Couple. We'll talk about sales. We'll talk about our favorite parts. We go through the book page by page, practically, panel by panel, practically. And we really did dig in deep for that. We have Justice League rewatch. For the problem with, I'm thinking of doing a problem with the Superman fandom. I'm thinking of doing that. I may either do that or something else. I'm still thinking, if you guys have any requests, feel free to DM me or email me. In terms of Under Two Capes, we may do what a DC theme park would look like, because that would actually be really fun to talk about. And movie night next week, we're talking about Kingsman. Kingsman 1, the good Kingsman movie.
Manners maketh man.
Yes, I was wondering. I need that as a drop because I love that. And then in terms of
trust me, I'm gonna have a lot of drops for you for Kingsman.
Yes, please send those to me and I'll have them in here. So have a great week, everyone. Stay heroic. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lame, and General Zod belongs with Lois Lame. See you later, everyone. No, hang on. This is the one thing where he has to be uninterrupted. Say it.
Restore the Snyderverse.